Hey Trekkies, it's summer, and you know what that means. It's time for Creation Entertainment's Trek to Las Vegas 2025. This year, the convention has been expanded to a 5-day schedule, August 6th through the 10th at the Rio Las Vegas Hotel. Meet all your favorite Star Trek pros in one place, and hey, maybe you swing by Vic's Lounge and you see our panel. It's a great way to meet people in person and have some fun with your fellow Trekkies. If you can't make it to Star Trek Las Vegas, of course, there's also other events around the country this year. Trek to Orlando, August 23rd through 24th. There's the Trek to New Jersey, September 6th and 7th. And finally, the Trek to Chicago, November 22nd and 23rd. We're looking forward to meeting as many of you as we can this year. So make sure that you get ready to trek to Las Vegas.
Is this thing on? Hello, hello. Welcome to Open Pike Night. I'm your host, John T. Bolds, here tonight with some amazing guests on stage to grab the spotlight from our highly trained spotlight handling hands and point it at ourselves. Turns out we have a lot of spotlights to shine. I can see 4.
I count 5.
We know you've come to count on Open Pike Night as your #1 Strange New Worlds call-in podcast and source for in-depth interviews with the creative talent that brings us more Trek than ever before. And don't worry, we have a huge lineup of episodes coming and interviews coming that we know you're going to love. But more on that later. Joining me today are my co-hosts. Normally I'd make some fun introductions here, but that's the whole episode. So, Jesse.
Hi, John.
And Cam.
I am a little nervous, but I'm just picturing all of our callers naked, so I think that'll get me through.
And we do have a good full lineup of callers tonight to ask us some questions and help introduce us to the podcast listening community and the Trek community. So, should we get right in with our first caller?
Hit it.
Rock and roll.
All right, first up on stage, we have Danielle.
Hello everyone at Open Pike. So glad to be calling in again to chat with you all. I guess my question for you, and this is for all 3 of you to answer, what is your favorite Star Trek episode that centers on an ethical dilemma and why? For example, my 2 favorites are Death Wish from Voyager and Cogenitor from Enterprise. The first covers the full range of death, immortality, ennui, and the moral dilemma of assisted suicide. The latter explores how, although we may have good intentions, it doesn't make our actions correct. Thank you. Until next time, Sayadina signing off.
That was Danielle at Sayadina Heresy on Twitter, calling in with just a heavy question to start off the show. So,
Please tell me that Death Wish episode is just all about Tom Paris, like, going around getting revenge on the death of his family.
I mean, how can you not imagine that?
It's actually the last remaining member of the Nova Squadron going around and taking out everybody who, got to stay.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
But before we jump into Danielle's excellent question, I do have to say, Danielle, you have been noted by guests and callers and listeners alike as being one of our most eloquent contributors. So thank you for continuing to call in and make Open Pike Night just a little bit better than it was before. I think this is probably the chalk answer, but I'm okay with giving it. I think there's a long history that I have with this episode, so I'm comfortable with saying that Measure of a Man is probably my personal favorite ethical dilemma episode because it is so accessible to non-Star Trek fans, right? It's basically just a legal drama. In fact, that's the episode that I used to get my wife to watch any Star Trek at all. And now, of course, from there, she became a huge Data fan, and she loves Picard, and she loves watching them interact, and she goes, oh, that guy's why you have a beard. So it's a very accessible episode, I think, even to non-Star Trek fans. And it has that important message, right? Because we get this interplay of rights and property and humanity and sentience and things like that. But it all really does come down to the scene between Guinan and Picard where she says, "You're talking about slaves. And if you can illustrate that point, I think you can win this case." And that combined with seeing Riker do his job despite not wanting to do his job is just so powerful. And I think it really lets, for example, non-Star Trek fans know, oh, this is a show that has depth. Like, yes, they're all wearing the jumpsuits and they've got the shiny little thing, but there's depth here. Like, there are stories here, there are characters here, there are things here that I want to see. So I think my answer has to be Measure of a Man from TNG, with a caveat that Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach is probably eking in there now, because I think that it's also super accessible for a lot of similar reasons.
Yeah. Cam?
Yeah, I agree. Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach certainly popped in my head as an excellent ethical dilemma episode. Perhaps it's recency bias because we just covered Iborg on my first time TNG watch through podcast, Green Shirt and Newbies Trek Through the Next Generation. But I do feel like that is just emblematic of everything I love about Star Trek ethical dilemmas. You go into that episode and I can 100% see both sides of the coin. And, you know, you have to ask yourself, like, is doing the right thing... Sometimes doing the right thing is the wrong thing in the long run. Sometimes doing the wrong thing could be right in the long run. And what are we willing to become to defeat our enemies? And, you know, like I pointed out on that episode, I definitely, you know, empathized with Hugh, and I did not want them to turn him into a weapon, but you can't help but see, like, perhaps they could save millions of individuals and perhaps entire species if they had done that. And, that still sticks with you at the end, even when you 100% agree with their ultimate decision. So I think that's what Star Trek does great.
Single episode. I love Measure of a Man. I love lots of TNG episodes. I think if I would have to pick quality of life over that just a little bit more, I think it asks a lot of the same questions Measure of a Man does without the without having the emotional tie-in of it being one of the main characters. I think Enterprise actually deals with this extremely well because I know Voyager was a very focused on desperation to get home and what lengths you'll go to get back home. But I think Enterprise, the entirety of season 3 and desperation of this is fighting for the entire survival of the species. And so we are going to have to make again and again some very tough decisions about what we're willing to do and accept in the aspect of trying to save humanity altogether. And that has always been my favorite arc.
John, I can't wait to argue with you about this a little bit later, but I'll save it.
Okay, sounds good.
Spicy takes.
Next up, we have another returning caller and returning guest host, Abby.
Hey, Open Pike, it's Abby Summer. I am so excited to get to ask you fabulous gentlemen a question. And in my real life, besides being a giant Trekkie, I am a reading teacher. So I am wondering what 3 books you all think everyone should read in their lifetime. They could be adult books, kid books, comic books, whatever kind of books you want. But what are 3 books that you think everybody should read? And if you feel like really going into it, why? I've asked this to a couple of Star Trek actors and creatives throughout the years and gotten some really neat answers, so I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. Keep up the fabulous pod.
I'll start out with that. I think my first pick would be Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I love that book. I've loved it since the first time I've read it. The beautiful thing is it is free now because it is all public domain. So anybody can read it. And I think it is fantastic adventure, great storytelling, and a good example of what you can create when you're stuck inside and bored, because that's the whole reason that book was written.
Yeah, my first one is kind of obvious. It's going to be Lord of the Rings. As we'll just say it as one book. It's, the basis of all modern fantasy. It's so good. It's so deep. It's so rich. And it's so long and dense. By the time you finish it, you can just start over again and pick up things you missed or forgot the first time through.
I will start with a book called The Stranger by Albert Camus. I think that it is one of those books that when you're done reading it, you'll either go, oh, okay, I know that feeling for sure, or you'll go, okay, that guy needs to chill out and get over it. Like it's thick it's thick in a digestive sense. It's a quick read, but this is gonna be in your mind after you read it. And I think it was probably my introduction to just that level of like existential dread and kind of, I don't know, it's like depression in a relatable way without feeling like it's somebody complaining, I guess. It's difficult to explain, but I would say check it out because you'll, like I said, at the end of it, you'll either go, oh, I totally get it, or you'll go, that guy needs to chill out. And I think that that's a good compass point for life, personally.
My next one, actually, it's a really good tie-in to that one, Jesse. I would encourage people to read Catcher in the Rye because of not so much that it is a fantastic story, but it is a fantastic telling of a story. And I did first read it when I was a teenage boy, and I was like, oh, this guy, I mean, like just the inner monologue of Holden Caulfield. And then over the years, just my opinion on that has changed more and more. I'm like, oh my God, this insufferable little dick is self-entitled. And so it is a very, I understand why it's an American classic, because it is a book that can mean so many different things to so many different people. And if you're going to make one book be the center point of the, Mel Gibson, Julia Roberts thriller Conspiracy Theory with Patrick Stewart as the main villain, you got to go with Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah, so I do want to take a moment here to say, like, between the ages of 10 and 25, I was a voracious reader. I mean, there's so many family photos of me on fishing trips, camping trips, just my nose in a book the whole time. From about 25 to now, it has dramatically decreased, especially now with kids. I think I've gotten through 2 books in the last year, one I'd read before and one I'm just kind of hate finishing right now. So I wish I had more better answers for this. Plus, like a lot of the books that mean a lot to me, I don't know if I would say everyone has to read them. There's a lot of like filmmaking books and stuff that, like, for me, for anyone interested in filmmaking, I'd say like Rebel Without a Crew you have to read. If you love the Evil Dead Compendium is an amazing book, but I wouldn't say everyone has to read them. So these next 2 I'm kind of just pulling out of my butt here. I'm going to say number 2 was Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, just because it's a book I really loved. It really stuck with me, and it just kind of opened my eyes to what tone and style can be. Like, I don't know if I've ever read or seen anything that's able to blend like absurdist humor with truly like creepy, terrifying overtones as well as that book does. And it's just a fantastic read. I love it.
That's actually kind of funny. The next one on my list is American Gods by Neil Gaiman.
I do not like that one.
So I read it. I must have been, and I would like to point out, actually, I'm in the same exact boat as Cameron is. I'm not driving the boat. I'm just in the boat holding one of the paddles. But same thing, I think that's probably a relatable experience where you read as much as you could for a long time, and then, something in your life changed. Maybe you got married or had kids or both, or, a lot of stuff can change for a lot of people as they get older, and their reading time can decrease. And to that point, there was some criticism of Strange New Worlds that I saw that was like, this is sci-fi for people who don't read sci-fi books. And it immediately made me go, yeah, don't have the time to read an entire sci-fi book right now, but I'm loving getting to participate in these stories. So yeah, I don't think that's the criticism that you think that it is. But yeah, I read American Gods when I think I was in very early high school. And the slow realization of the main character throughout that book mirrored my experience of reading it, because I hadn't ever read something that felt so immersive, I think, since when I was in middle school reading like Jurassic Park and going, oh, this is so much better than the movie. But it had been a while since I'd found something that I got that immersed into. And then, of course, that opened me up to the world of Neil Gaiman. So for me, that's why that book was so important, is it made me look at all of the rest of his work. Now, I will admit, I have not yet seen American Gods, nor have I watched Sandman yet on Netflix. I have a little bit of a Netflix vendetta.
I like that you brought up Jurassic Park, Jesse, because while that's not in my top 3, it is the book I've read the most. I have read 2 copies, 2 tatters of that book over the years since I first picked it up and since I first saw the movie. For me, my third pick is from an author that a lot of people will either love or hate, but it is Stephen King's On Writing. I think even if your art in your life is not writing, I think that book, more than any I've ever read, is the most honest about the creative process. I think it makes the creative process accessible to more people who think that I don't have the time to do something, I don't have the ability to create something. I think King brings it down to a level where it's like, yes, anybody can do this, which I know is kind of a criticism of Stephen King over the years, but just this book alone, between its autobiographical nature and about being creative, is a fantastic read that everybody should get a chance to experience.
Yeah, Jurassic Park is probably the book I've read more than any other 2. I devoured that thing multiple times as a kid, and I really do need to read Stephen King's On Writing. It's one of the many books filling up the nightstand next to my bed right now, waiting for me to get to. My last one, look, I mean, Abby, you said I could pick a kid's book, and I was trying to think of some good kids' books. I know there's a lot that meant a ton to me as a kid. I know there's some I've read to my kids. Goodnight Goon is a really good book if you got kids. I like that one a lot. I'm just going to go with the jokey answer. I'm sorry. Although I did really enjoy it when I read it in junior high. Alien versus Predator Prey.
Hell,
read it.
Yes.
Just so you could know what the original Alien versus Predator movie could have been, because they very lightly adapted it. And I was like, you had the source material. You had it right there. Just make that movie.
Also, it could have been Alien 3. It was both. Yeah.
It's a really good Alien versus Predator book.
Yeah.
Well, I will just continue my pattern of giving the chalk answer and say To Kill a Mockingbird. So when my wife and I were having our first child, before we had any idea, the due date or the approximate due date or the gender of the child or anything like that, we had keyed in on maybe giving her the first name of Atticus, because it was a touch point for both of us. I said, here's a name that I always thought would be great for a kid. And she went, oh, from To Kill a Mockingbird. And I went, I mean, I'm not surprised that you know that, but it is deeply important to me that you know that, and that's the exact association you have with that. I think that Atticus was also the name of some band that I don't think needs to be mentioned, but just the central message of that book is timeless, right? And it's the kind of thing that is always tragically super relevant, no matter when you read it. And I believe the little girl who played Scout in the movie version is like in her 90s now, and she's in a play of To Kill a Mockingbird, which is really cool. But it's one of those books that, I mean, it's a classic for a reason, obviously, but it really does illustrate, the power of a good example. Just having the power of a good example and a good role model in your life, can be hugely transformative. And everybody should have or seek to have an Atticus Finch in their life. And I think everybody should read that book, because not everybody will have that person, but you can always think about Atticus Finch and ask yourself, what would Atticus Finch do?
He would read Jurassic Park.
He loves Jurassic Park. He's read it to tatters.
And as a little peek behind the bricks, I will say that the copy of On Writing on Cam's nightstand is my first copy that I sent to him, because he and I have known each other for
long enough.
20 plus years now.
Yeah.
And I've created more art with Cam than anybody else in my life.
Collaborators.
Yes.
Intimate collaborators.
Our next caller is also returning to the stage.
This is a 2-part question for Open Pike Night. Klingan holt de jatta. Klingan tquilj Vilsobia. Strange New Worlds. I'll take my answers in English. Thanks.
All right, that was Jesse from Alaska. I do. I learned it years ago, and I would say I think the Klingons will show up in Strange New Worlds at some point, but I don't think they're ever going to be a main antagonist or anything like that, because I think they're reserved for Discovery. Jesse?
I will say Jodj mit il post moch, which means open the door, I think. I'm not 100% on that. I had to Google that. I don't. I am well on record as saying I want me some disco Klingons in Strange New Worlds. I think everybody who overreacted to the Discovery Klingons needs to be reserved the exact same dish, but just a little bit heated up and given that little sleeky shine that Strange New Worlds has on everything. I personally...
Those would be some shiny Klingons.
I mean, seriously. I love what Disco did with the way they talk. Like, I think it was probably... I can admit an effect of the prosthetics being in the way of the actors' teeth and tongue, but I think it works well to give the Klingons another layer of just a little bit different than us, right? Because, I mean, come on. Up until Discovery, Klingons were just guys with like a slightly different forehead. Come on. And I get it. I understand. Trust me, I understand the long tradition of guys with just a different forehead. But you're going to complain to me that they made the aliens more alien? Get out of my face. I love the Klingons. I hope Mary Chieffo comes back as L'Rell. And I'm just on record as being in love with disco Klingons, and I hope those are the ones that they use for Strange New Worlds. If they don't, and they use some other kind of Klingons, I'll be equally happy.
I'll just say that, my favorite ice cream flavor is probably like a cherry chocolate chip or something.
Did she ask that too?
I translated that right, correct? Oh, yeah, I'm good.
So, okay, full disclosure, no, I do not speak Klingon. Jesse sent me the translation, but that question comes with a very funny backstory because Jessie from Alaska recorded that while at work, which is why she wasn't declaring loudly her Klingon questions. She's like, I was getting a lot of stares while I was recording that. So thank you very much, Jessie from Alaska. And we will be hearing from her later with her real questions. Up next, we have another returning favorite.
Hey folks, Gayfish here from the Rest of Both Worlds podcast. Last episode, I made the mistake of asking a Star Trek writer something that could potentially give away future episodes, and so I didn't get the answer. But as far as I know, none of you are cashing checks from CBS, so let's get a redo. What social issues would you like to see Star Trek tackle?
Thanks for rubbing it in, Gayfish. I want that sweet, sweet CBS money.
And I gotta say, you did not fail. We really appreciated you, throwing that punch because, hey, you know what? It could have landed. It didn't, but that's okay. We appreciate you taking the shot anyway.
I would like to see, and this kind of ties into one of my answers to one of the later questions. I would like to see the hoarding of wealth, and somewhere in the Federation, I would like to see the somebody actually trying to do a Federation capitalism and see how that is dealt with in the time of warp capable starships.
Can do a Federation capitalism be our next t-shirt design?
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like just between like global warming now and then the recent pandemic, of course, I think the next big one is going to be society, community versus individualism. Like just acknowledging that if we are going to be a part of the society, we all have to work at it. We all have to be a part of it. We are responsible not for just for ourselves and those around us and those we love, but people we don't know, people we'll never meet, people on an island that is rapidly disappearing, our grandchildren's grandchildren, the person on that island's grandchildren. Like we have to think of all these people when we act. And then so I say that's what Star Trek should do next, but I'm now realizing as I'm talking that it's basically the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one. So just looking at that age-old theme again through a modern context for sure.
I think maybe put it on one of the characters, right? Like have a character acting in a way that seems, relatable and correct, and then have them realize, oh, this is actually not that for all of these reasons, and that sort of thing. Because I think and I think this actually ties into something that John has said maybe on the show and definitely has said on Twitter. We don't get to go to the Star Trek future without the people that don't want that future. We have to bring them with us. And that's not saying we have to allow them their bullshit, but we have to figure out a way to get them to go, oh, maybe I should be on some different bullshit. Like, that's incumbent upon us to get them to realize that. So I think maybe just focusing it on one character might be part of the way to do that. Sort of how they did with Lift Us, again, where they had Pike directly confronting, oh, wow, your society is built on a completely different set of ideals than mine, to the point where I actually don't even have an answer for you. I just have to leave. And I think that, over the course of this podcast so far, and specifically to answer this question, you guys have hit the nail right on the head. I think that Strange New Worlds is doing some stuff that other Trek series have done, but it's doing it in a way that feels a little bit more pointed. And I'm not 100% sure how it is that they're accomplishing that, but that's how I feel about it. Yeah. That having been said, I will say I think we sort of have this kind of a running theme on our favorite episodes with the ethical dilemmas. They all seem to be about bodily autonomy. Another one of those themes that happens to always be tragically relevant is bodily autonomy. I wouldn't be surprised to see Strange New World Season 2 tackle that again. I think that they have arguably already done so a little bit with Una and her character arc. I think they could use her to further the exploration of that. Are you, because your body is a way, you are now a prisoner, which means you have similar rights to a piece of property, right? So I think there are definitely avenues that the writers set up to continue to explore these avenues. And Gayfish, let me say, there have apparently been more than one person who assumed that we are part of the Paramount marketing machine. If we were, we would tell you, trust me. Yeah. We would be like, oh yeah, we saw this episode weeks ago and now we're covering it. Like, you would know, I promise you would know. And I don't think that Gayfish is accusing us of anything. I'm just saying apparently it has been said before. We didn't know that, but we've been told. So
I choose to take it as this podcast is way too high quality to just be three guys sitting in different rooms across the country recording. They have to be part of the Paramount team.
Clearly, they're part of the machine.
Thank you for that compliment.
Yeah.
Just real quick to Jesse's point, which I guess was to John's point. I mean, that's what's great about allegory in Star Trek, right? Because certainly, especially online discourse, changing hearts and minds really becomes more about letting everyone know how right you are and attacking other people for their wrong opinions. And again, if you want to kind of bring those people along, if you want to actually not just preach to the choir, you've got to be a little sneaky. And that's what, these kind of science fiction stories can do so well. And I feel like sometimes New Trek does kind of want to appease their base fans by throwing them bones. And that's fine. But I do think they also have to make sure that they are trying to reach out to the people that need to hear these messages.
My final point on that is that I will say that I think Strange New Worlds is largely succeeding there, where maybe some of the other new Trek shows haven't been as successful, maybe commercially or in the hype verticals or whatever it is, because it has a white male lead that's not 90 years old, right? They're using somebody who looks like a typical Trek fan, air quotes, the angry typical Trek fan on social media probably looks similar to Captain Pike, maybe not so pretty, but you know what I mean?
Svelte.
Right, yeah. So they're going, what if we put a straight white guy in charge of it and then he has moral dilemmas?
Right. Follow the straight white guy onto the bridge full of women.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yep. And then maybe it will sneakily seep into some straight white guy's brains that what's going on here is okay. And it's all right to take advice from women. And it's okay to not just boss people around all the time. To your point of maybe it needs to be sneaky. I think that is one of Strange New World's greatest strengths, is that it has this chance to be sneaky. So that's an excellent thing to bring up, Cameron.
I like the idea of a bodily autonomy episode of taking the autonomy away from somebody who had the autonomy more than, wait, do we get to grant autonomy to somebody to have it come the other direction? And then, as a more lighthearted version of that, what if we get an Una and Runa body swap episode? We got a dog as a number one in command of the ship.
Runa Muck?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
We're going to be making CBS checks by the end of this episode, guys.
And for our next caller, a long-standing, our first ever caller, let's hear what Peter has to ask.
Yay.
Hi, Open Pike Night. It's Peter again. I have a few general questions for you. What's your favorite piece of Trek collectible you own? What new Star Trek show would you like to see develop in the next couple of years? And what other science fiction fandoms are you a part of? Thanks for asking, and take care. Until next time.
That was Peter at PeterTrek1 on Twitter. I'm going to go ahead and say our biggest fan and our longest running fan. And anybody else who thinks that they're our biggest fan, prove it. Bring it. We have some options for how you can become our biggest fan. I will start. I will do the merchandise first. I don't have a lot of Trek merchandise. I don't have a lot of collectibles in general. But I do have the one I carry with me every day is a little keychain, little resistance is futile keychain that came randomly from a little gas station in South Carolina. Just happened to have Star Trek merch hanging there in the gas station. And so I have a resistance is futile keychain, and I carry that with me on my keys.
That's a really cool
awesome.
Franchise owner.
Yeah, I've got a few okay things, but like my favorite collectible, I guess I'm just going to have to go. I do have the Blu-ray set of the original cast movies, Star Trek 1 through 6, which currently has Nichelle Nichols' signature on it. I met her and got her to sign it, and is a week away from getting William D. Shatner's, I think I got that wrong. It's William Shatner's signature as well, thanks to another set of fans, our Chortagans, who are certainly attempting to dethrone Peter. They offered to take that and get the Shat signature on it. So I appreciate that. I think I've got just a couple other surviving members so I can still get on there. Got to get Takai and Koenig, right?
Yep.
Well, Peter, that's a difficult question. Thank you for asking. It could be this screen accurate TNG comm badge. It could be this screen accurate Season 1 Discovery Command comm badge. It could be this screen accurate TNG phaser, hand phaser with actual sounds. I don't know if this is going to pick up, but we'll try it.
I am stunned.
See, all I see right now is that gif of William Shatner with all the tribbles pouring over him, but it's just Jesse with collectibles.
With Trek stuff, yeah. There's, you guys can't see it on my camera, but there's a painting that I did that's actually the painting from Picard's quarters. It's like, I believe it's a picture of like a blue planet from the surface of a moon. But it's like one of the few things I ever painted, but it looks pretty comparably close, so I really like that painting. It's not a collectible, but and then of course behind me I've got Captain Spock in the Funko Pop chair. We've got, in the Funko Pop category, we have Captain Spock, the Gorn, we have Star Trek Beyond Spock, and then the entire TNG Pop cast minus Locutus of Borg. I didn't buy him when I saw the whole set, and I feel like an idiot now, but I do have Worf, Riker. I've got everybody they made except for Locutus and the non-specific Klingon, because I'm like, come on, that's the same model as Worf. I think my favorite thing, though, is probably there is a signed photo of John Delancey that I have. It's him in his judge's robes, and it's paired with the action figure of him in his judge's robes, and I gave my dad the photo, and I have the action figure. So it's like a cool half and half, almost like a friendship necklace of Q merchandise, right? Like, but it was a very cool gift that we are able to sort of share. And my dad has always been my connection to Star Trek in the first place. So, but to Cameron's point, the only Blu-rays that I have are actually the trilogy. It's 2, 3, and 4 on Blu-ray
Jesse,
together.
Peter's question was your favorite collectible, not all your collectibles.
Right. I have to say them so that I know which one is the best one, because they strike me emotionally differently.
You don't want them to think
day.
that you're choosing favorites amongst them.
Well, and I don't want...
Well, you actually are choosing a favorite.
I don't want the listeners to think that I'm making it up as I go along. But yeah, it's definitely the Q photo and action figure.
Now, what should all of our listeners' favorite piece of merch be?
If you happen to be looking for a new favorite piece of Star Trek related merchandise, there's a new place that you can go to find that. And of course, I am talking about openpike.bigcartel.com, where you can go now to get all of our collection of Season 1 t-shirts. Now, this is the way that you can support Open Pike Night financially. Please, please, please understand, we don't expect you to. You don't have to. But we know that some of you out there want to, because you told us that you did and you asked us how you could. So we figured, let's give you something in exchange for that, because this show will always be free, right? The show is for us, and we love it, and we love you, and why would we charge you for a thing we love? But if you want to help support the show and you don't, for example, want to go to Patreon, and you want to wear your support out loud, go to the aforementioned openpike.bigcartel.com and pick out your favorite Season 1 shirt, and we will ship it directly to you. We've got all kinds of designs. I really personally am partial to the Season 1 tour shirt. It lists all the names of our guests from the first season of Open Pike Night and all of our collars on the back in the style of a tour shirt, like we're some kind of band, because we're not, but we do have a podcast.
And even if you don't want to support us financially, if that's not something you care to do, but you just want a really cool Star Trek shirt, we've got you covered still.
And if you do want to support us financially, but you also want to save money while you're supporting us financially, then do go to Patreon. And if you sign up at the $2 a month level, every quarter we'll send you a discount on a t-shirt that will be worth more than those $2 a month. Check us out on Patreon, Open Pike. And for your next question, Peter, I think I'll combine actually your next two questions. I really want to see a year zero. I want to see what happens in the decade after first contact on Earth. I want to see the start of humanity's trek to the stars. Now, I think the closest that we have so far is The Expanse. And I've heard a lot of people say that The Expanse is probably one of the best examples of what it would be like between First Contact and what we know as Star Trek and Starfleet and all that, as far as the settling of the solar system. I would love to see a Star Trek series focused around that, and I am a huge fan of The Expanse. I'm a huge fan. I enjoy Star Wars. I enjoy lots of different sci-fi franchises. I'm not typically somebody who picks a single favorite. So once I like something, I like it. I would say my most recent new discovery would be The Expanse, both in the novels and in the excellent TV series.
Yeah, well, I mean, real quick, mine aren't cleverly connected like John's were, so I'll just say other sci-fi fandoms, of course, Star Wars, Fallout, big fan of the Fallout series, Firefly, of course, Aliens, Lost. Despite me being disappointed in the final season, I still love Lost, so it's a fantastic journey. And I think it counts. I'm going to say Twin Peaks, technically science fiction, at least in parts. And then, yeah, it's so funny. I was just thinking last night as I was, trying to make myself fall asleep, what other kind of Star Trek shows would I like? And I think I stumbled across what I would really want from the next Star Trek series is I want an anthology series. I want every season to follow a new ship with a new captain. Because the problem, I mean, we make this joke all the time in our TNG show. It's just like, why do all these amazingly bonkers things always happen to one ship? Like, what are the chances that this is the ship that everything falls on? And so, like, let's see more of the universe. Let's just broaden it. It'll fight this. Because another thing is like just bringing in Spock again, Spock's got a new sibling. Like, it just kind of makes things feel small. And so by doing this, let's blow open the universe. Let's see different crews doing different things. And season 1, I want it to be like a cosmic horror, the ship enters something Lovecraftian and they have to deal with some nightmare fuel shit. Let's get that. Let's just get that in and out. Star Trek season 1, and then, I don't know where they go from there.
I actually really like that answer, and it's sort of close to my answer, which is I want an anthology series, but I want every episode to be different. Go ultra episodic, sort of like how they did with Star Wars Vision. Because I personally went into Star Wars Visions with my arms crossed. Like, I'm a big anime fan, and that will color some of my answers here for the second part of this question. But I think that if we could get that style of Star Trek anthology, where every week it's a new crew or a new ship or a new alien or, a new ethical dilemma, whatever we want, we could get all those Star Trek flavors, sort of like we were getting with short treks, right? But I specifically want more animated Star Trek. And I think I specifically want anime Star Trek, because that, just by reaching into that medium, you're going to access this whole pool of fans that may have otherwise not watched Star Trek, right? And trust me, there are some seriously devoted fans in the anime space, and I think that would pair well with how devoted some of the people are in the Star Trek space. Oh, get it? Star Trek space. Oh, I didn't even do that on purpose. But I think if we could just get, 10, 15 episodes, give me different animation studios, just like they did with Visions. Like, I know that it feels like I'm going, copy this and copy that, but it's like, that's sort of how the industry works right now, is whatever works, people are going to try and ape that. So I think if we're going to go down that path, let's go down the quality side of that path. Like, I don't need a bunch of Star Trek movies, right? Like, sure, if you want to do the fourth Kelvin movie, I'm fine with that. I'm also in
the fourth Kelvin movie.
I'm also in the crew where if that doesn't happen, I might be okay with it. But I think that Star Trek is best on TV, because Star Trek is best when it's episodic. I am not discounting serialized Star Trek. You know me. I love all Star Trek. But I personally think it's best when it's episodic. And if we could go ultra episodic and step outside of Star Trek's comfort zone as far as medium goes, I think that'd be a win for everyone. Now, I did mention I'm a big anime fan. Cameron mentioned Firefly. I know that's not anime, but that's where my other show, Sudden But Inevitable, started. I used Firefly to get some people into Cowboy Bebop. Really love Cowboy Bebop. You're noticing that these are both all one-season shows. I really like Neon Genesis, Evangelion. I was a big Destiny fan. I played Destiny for a long time. I haven't been playing Destiny as much lately because I have been really focused on building quality content for a podcast called Open Pike Night. And but the thing about Destiny that I loved is that it really feels like Bungie went there, and I still believe this. I believe that there is space for one more Star property. There is Star Trek, there is Star Wars. There is one more Star thing that has yet to be created. I'm sure people will tell me, oh, it's Battlestar, or it's this, or it's that, or the other thing. It's not Stargate, sorry. There is room for one more Star property, and I feel like Bungie really attempted to take the word Star out of it, but write that level of lore for their story. It didn't all make it into the game, which is tragic, because it is amazingly well written. And if you delve into the lore of Destiny, I would argue you could probably read more Destiny than play and still enjoy the hell out of it. But I was really, really deep in the Destiny community. If you know who the Exo Stranger is, I was the first person to figure out her identity way back before Kingsfall in Destiny 1, and I posted this big Reddit thread about it. So I was very deep into Destiny. I'm generally a fan of any sci-fi. I try to play the Star Wars detractor on this show, and I don't like Star Wars as much as I like Star Trek. But I don't hate Star Wars.
Yeah,
it's for 12-year-olds though.
Well, there's a lot of 12-year-olds out there.
Yeah, I was a 12-year-old
sitting right here.
Yeah, I used to be a 12. That's fine.
We have another returning massive Open Pike Night mega fan up. Let's hear from Michelle.
Hey, Open Pike Night behind the bricks. I love this idea. I wonder if it's a little play on VH1 Behind the Music, little retro reference there, but even if not, I love it. But I wanted to just thank you guys. I'm so glad that you're doing this. When I was on the podcast, you made it so easy for me. You're so easygoing and just really easy to talk to. You're great interviewers, but you're also great folks. So great Star Trek fans. So glad you're doing this. I was trying to think of something other people wouldn't ask you, but the best I could come up with was with that little VH1 reference. Maybe your favorite musical genre. Would love to know what music you're into. And also, what got you into Star Trek? Was there a character, an episode, seeing a starship for the first time in like a toy store or on your TV screens or in the movies? Just really interested to get to know you guys a little bit better. Thank you so much for all that you do for Open Pike Night and bringing Star Trek to the fans. And the Crusher connection, I guess, is that, you know, Gates McFadden has an awesome podcast. You have an awesome podcast. I hope worlds collide one day. Hopefully they will. But looking forward to this one. Live long and prosper.
All right, that was Michelle at On the Rock 81 calling in once again and bringing the Crutch connection.
And making me blush. The blusher connection.
I would love to have Gates McFadden on. We actually have a very...
Guys, what if Strange New Worlds does a musical episode and she choreographs it?
What if she directs it?
I'm fine. Both.
That would be fantastic.
That would.
Cam, how did you get into Star Trek? Like, what hooked you?
Yeah, I mean, Star Trek's just one of those things that's always been in my life. My family's kind of sci-fi heavy, but it's a longstanding joke that my mom was watching Lost in Space when she went into labor with me. I think my earliest memories of Star Trek are actually watching it with my aunt, watching the original series. I remember good times just watching Kirk and the crew explore alien planets. And then, you know, what really got me was the original cast movies, Star Trek, the motion picture through Undiscovered Country. I love those. And I think I was mentioning on Twitter earlier, you know, is especially like the motion picture and Wrath of Khan have those like nightmare inducing scenes with the transporter malfunction and the SETI eels going into the ear. Like those things sear themselves into a kid's brain, but 80s movies especially just have such a way of kind of presenting these horrifying images and themes, but in a way that made us feel kind of safe at the time, right? Because I was with the crew of the Enterprise. I was with Spock and McCoy and Sulu. They weren't going to let anything bad happen to me, so I could see these terrifying images and make it through and feel like it was like a coming of age moment. I look back on those, like I can remember them and remember being horrified, but thinking how cool it was that I was able to get through it and finish the movie. And then my current trek through Trek is because honestly, I wanted to make a podcast because I had kids and couldn't make movies anymore. And so I needed some creative outlet that was a little less time consuming. And I had just started finally watching TNG on Netflix and kind of going, wait, I could kind of combine these two things because I keep asking people questions about TNG on Facebook. And there's a lot of TNG fans out there who want to answer this newbie's question. So let's do this. And it's culminated in what you're listening to now.
My first experience with Star Trek was the motion picture. And it was actually because I don't remember why this had happened, but there was some reason that my whole family was sitting around the TV and we didn't have anything to watch. And my dad had on top of the TV, like as a decoration, the 5 original movies in a box set, unopened. Like the shrink wrap was still on it. And I went, why don't we watch those? And my mom made this face like, oh, it's unopened. Like, and she looked at my dad and she was like, it's unopened. And he kind of made a face that I didn't really understand. And then he went, yeah, let's watch those. And he opened it and we watched them. And I was hooked. And that was kind of our first shared sci-fi thing, because up until then I was just a wayward Star Wars fan. You know, I was 12 or 13 and I didn't know any better. I was like, oh, look, this is fun. Again, I'm playing. But there was a different level of connection that we made over Star Trek because that was his thing that he grew up with. He grew up watching the original series. And so he was like, here's kind of the last hurrah of my heroes from growing up. And I was really into it after the motion picture, which I've been told is not usually what people feel after the motion picture, but it was just so different from everything I had seen in sci-fi up to that point that I was totally wrapped. And I was like, okay, I'm into this. I got to know. And then, of course, we watched Wrath of Khan and then the rest of the movies. And by the time we got to the fourth movie, my dad is like giddy, like a kid, like, oh, you're going to love this, And to this day, he picks up his mouse and goes, hello, computer. And I love it. So it's that was my introduction to Star Trek.
The first Star Trek I ever saw was Star Trek 4, the one with the whales. Some people might know it as the Voyage Home, but every real Trek fan knows that it's called the one with the whales. I saw that in the theater as a kid, and definitely it was a good introduction to Star Trek. Like I did not have old Trekkies in my family. I don't think anybody even cared about the original series. But yeah, hello computer is are words that if anybody just says, I will immediately know what they're referencing. Transparent aluminum, all the fun stuff. Started watching TNG, and I definitely enjoyed it. I think what really, really locked Star Trek in is something that I was going to be as involved with as I possibly could, was getting through the first few seasons of TNG and then seeing Star Trek 6 in the theaters. And Undiscovered Country really, really hooked me for some reason. I think both in just filmmaking and visual storytelling, as well as the fact that it was a Star Trek movie. It is a movie I will always gladly watch. I wish there were some scenes that were still available in it just for some Easter eggs, things like that. But I would say the combination of TNG and Star Trek 6 really pulled me in. All right, musical genres. Cam, we left a lot of your musical tastes on the floor in one of our interviews.
Oh, I got to geek out with Matthew McFadden about Talking Heads and David Bowie, but it's just for our ears, I suppose. Yeah, well, other than those, Klingon opera is a big one. Acta and Melota, I just love. I can always put that on when I want to get into the mood.
Melota.
80s music. I love 80s music. I love anything with like an electronic beat to it. I don't like dancing, really. I'm not good at it. Don't really enjoy it. But 90s dance music, I love. You put on some rhythm as a dancer, and my head will dance. I'll toe tap and head bop all night long. I don't know why. It's so weird. But yeah. I guess, just top three would be David Bowie, Queen, Talking Heads, Gary Newman, Depeche Mode.
Gary Newman.
Top five right there. Okay.
I really like how your top three evolved as it was coming out of your mouth, Cameron. That was impressive.
I was under pressure.
Yeah. Wow. I thought I was bad.
I had to make changes.
So, to get away from that immediately, ever since I saw the Zebulon Sisters, I can't get the Choo Choo Dance out of my head personally. But I, in my normal everyday life, I think I'm probably considered a bit of a metalhead. I also am very into, I think, what is currently classified as prog rock. Tool, Nine Inch Nails, those kinds of guys. Not so much Nine Inch Nails, they're a little more industrial, but like a Perfect Circle, kind of anything Maynard James Keenan does. And I recently discovered one album by Sturgill Simpson. I don't know how to say his name. I discovered one album of his that I really like called Sound and Fury. I haven't heard really any of the rest of his music. But mainstays on my personalized YouTube mix would include things like I said, Tool, All That Remains, a little bit of Bullet for My Valentine, a little bit of Motionless in White. It ranges, but it's all very loud, I would say.
I'm right there with Cam. I'm a kid of the 80s. I do enjoy a lot of 80s music. Duran Duran I've always been a huge fan of. I think Hungry Like the Wolf is probably one of my top 10 songs of all time. I could listen to that again and again on repeat. 90s I think I like alternative a little more than the dance. Although if somebody put on an entire album of jock jams, I would never be disappointed. I think
So weird. I do the same.
Now that's what I call surprising. Volume
exactly. I do think now that's what I call music. Volume 1 was fantastic. That's the only one I ever bought, ever owned, but I played the hell out of it. These days, Muse is one of my favorite bands. Gary Newman is, I have to thank Cam and Rob for that. I've been to a couple of his concerts. I went to one just recently, and I've been to several Muse concerts. I think my new favorite right now, I've really enjoyed catching up with everything that AWOL Nation puts out. And I really like each one of these albums, and I like them for very different reasons. Also, a good film score. Not a soundtrack, a good film score. I've always been a fan of not just the classic ones that we all know, Star Wars, Star Trek, like John Williams, Hans Zimmer. Obviously, I enjoy all those, but some smaller minimalistic scores, which will come up in conversation later on.
I'd like to append a lifelong staple for me. I don't know how I failed to mention Static X. Rest in peace, Wayne, but I have seen Static X 6 times live. I've got all their signatures on a single poster. There are some bands that they change their sound every album, and you're like, that's so impressive. And then there are some bands that never change how they sound, and you're kind of like,
Newman.
I don't like this. But there are some bands that never change how they sound, and you're like, awesome, because all I want is that. Yeah, Offspring, Volbeat, Static X, they've picked a sound and it works, and they stuck with it, and I love it. So I can't believe I failed to mention them.
To be clear, Gary Newman is great that he keeps the same sound. He's not in the disappointment. So it's keep doing what you do, buddy.
Yeah. And we will get Jesse to listen to some Gary Newman because he has listed several bands that directly owe their sound and their inspiration to Gary Newman.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of music,
our next caller is a great follow-up to that. Returning to the stage is Mark.
Hey guys, it's Mark Dykman calling in again to Open Pike with a quick question. How did you feel the first time you heard the theme song for Strange New Worlds? I know for me, what I found was that the Strange New Worlds theme has a gravitas to us that some of the more recent shows don't have. There's just something about its reinterpretation of the original Alexander Courage theme that I think works really well. So what do you guys think? I'd like to hear it. Thanks a lot.
And that was Mark at Mark Dykman on Twitter calling in to talk about possibly a controversial topic we're about to find out. Cam, what do you think about Strange New Worlds theme?
I mean, I'll admit I don't remember what I first thought. I was kind of pretty neutral on it at first. I remember hearing the, whenever they referenced the notes to the original theme, or the theremin, is it the theremin they use? Those I loved. Those moments gave me chills. But the actual theme, it took me a while. But I think now when I hear it, I can appreciate the way it takes the original theme and kind of really modernizes it and makes it its new own thing. So it's one that had to grow on me beyond just the little nostalgia bits and bobs they put into it.
My articulation of what I'm pretty sure is exactly the same experience is the first time I heard it, I was like, isn't this is the Star Trek theme song? This is from TOS. They didn't change anything. They did add the drums, right? But my first reaction was, is anything different outside of, there's not a very high-pitched vocalist going on in the background. Not only did it grow on me, but that underlying drum line is so adventurous. It's like, okay, I'm ready for an episodic thing. I'm ready for the next completely new thing. Give me another fun Star Trek adventure. And I don't know if I agree with missing gravitas in the other themes, though, because the Discovery theme is one of my favorites of all of Star Trek. And I think that the Lower Decks theme, specifically for what it is perfect. And I actually prefer the season 1 Picard theme before it got changed into their action version of it or whatever it was for the second season. But I would actually point to this as Jeff Russo going, okay, we're making Star Trek. we're going to do the Star Trek theme song. I don't need to put my stank on it. I don't need it to be, recognizably, oh, this is the Jeff Russo version of that theme. It's like that theme is already there. And as we came to find out, this show was pitched as, what if we just did Star Trek? Well, then you would put the Star Trek theme song in the front of it. Like, to your point though, Mark, I definitely, for the first couple of listens, okay, first time I freaked out because I was like, new Star Trek theme. Second time I was like, there's something, I feel like something's lacking. And I don't know what that was, but I think that as I heard the song more, I realized, oh, this is them going, we don't need to add anything to this. This is already good enough as is.
It reminded me a lot of some Marvel themes where like the first couple times it's just music that works, but it doesn't stick in your mind. But like the more you hear it and the more it gets used in specific points, the more you kind of start to like acknowledge what they're doing with it, and it grows on you.
I think it's not as Star Trek as I don't think it matches up with the visuals that they use in the opening credits. I think the visuals are grandiose. I don't think the music rises to meet that grandiosity. It took me a long time before I finally picked out the driving almost bass line with the drums, that through line, and like that is what the Strange New World theme is. The rest is a reminder to viewers of where this show fits in the Star Trek universe. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy the Discovery theme song. I enjoy the minimalism of that. It's also it suffers from the same problem that Picard does. It is long. It is a long intro. It's almost 120 seconds long. I do appreciate that the Strange New Worlds one starts, tells the story and gets out and lets us get to the episode. I would say of all the new Trek, however we want to call it, the current age of Trek, I think the most Star Trek theme we have is Lower Decks. And I do think that I'm looking forward to them possibly evolving the theme song for Strange New Worlds as seasons go on. And we have another caller joining us again this episode.
Hey, Open Pike Night. This is Jessie from Alaska. My question to you guys is a little more film and script based, because I know that Cam and John have done some student films and stuff. If you guys were to write an episode for Strange New Worlds, what do you think your story would kind of be about? Would you introduce any new characters? Would it focus on any character in particular? Could you give us something off the top of your head? Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually kind of been wanting to write a Strange New Worlds spec script just to kind of keep my writing muscles flexed. But, we're talking Strange New World writers. I don't know when they might say, hey, throw me what you got. So it would be nice to have something in the bag. All I've gotten so far is the cold open, which I do like, though. So we open close on a pan with oil and popcorn in it. And it's Anson Mount. He's making popcorn. He's got the gourmet salts and butters, of course, because that's how he do. And there's some, captain's log about, the long tradition of captains doing movie nights aboard their ships. We know it from Enterprise, and we know Pike loves old movies. So, of course, he would do it. So the bridge crew's all arranged on the bridge. He's passing out the popcorn. But this time it's a little different because they've been surveying this new star system that has a pre-warp civilization in it. So they're not allowed to make contact, but they tune into their TV channels, and they're going to flip through, and they're going to try to find something on this alien TVs to watch. And so they're flipping through, and you get to kind of see like what everyone likes. Like Ortegas wants the racing thing, and there's like game shows that would put a Japanese audience to shame, and wacky sitcoms with like weird catchphrases that no one understands. And so they're flipping through, and finally they find something, and it's like some live event, and they cut to the crowd, and they go in, and there amongst all these aliens, and they're aliens because they've got the classic like slightly weird ears and nose. But there's one person right in the middle that's a fucking human. And that was my first idea. I was like, okay, it's just a human. And they're like, why is there this human on this alien planet? But then I was like, okay, well, let's push that. Maybe it's a historical figure. We know Star Trek's done that. Is it Lincoln? Is it Twain? Is it Hitler? Is it Pee Wee Herman? I don't know. But then I think I'm settling on, let's make it either. You can laugh out loud, John. I think I'm settling either on, did we ever find out what happened to Lorca? Lorca Prime.
We did not.
Nope.
So what if it was fucking Jason Isaacs there? That would be an amazing hook. I would definitely watch the rest of the episode. Or you could go this way. It's a couple of humans. Everyone's like, what? Are those humans? I believe those are humans, sir. And then Uhura leans forward and goes, they're not just humans. Those are my parents.
What? Because her parents are supposed to be dead.
They're supposed to die in a shuttle accident, but there they are.
That is a cold open right there.
Now, where do we go from there? I don't know. I don't know.
Unironically love that entire thing. I think it is high quality, and I have no frame of reference. I mean, like, I don't write things. I have never created a movie. I've watched a lot of Star Trek, and I tell you what, I would watch the hell out of the rest of that episode of Star Trek.
And because I'm me, and my little bit of a twisted self, I would say throughout this episode there would be at least 3 comments about how the new seasoning that he was using on the popcorn was really good. And the final shot would be Pike cleaning up and, puts the bag of popcorn kernels away, but it's not popcorn kernels. Oh no. He's been harvesting Gorn eggs. It is Pop Gorn. And he just gets a little revenge every time.
We've got the cold open and we've got the button. We just got to fill in the middle, guys.
Okay, so first act, or how do you guys say that? Act 1.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Pike opens a box to find a time crystal. I'm just kidding. I couldn't help myself. But no, this is why I leave the writing up to the two of you, because I am merely in this space to enjoy what is given to me. I am not a writer by any stretch, but I think
you're a test audience.
Right. Yes, I'm a great beta reader. Is that what they're called?
Beta cuck.
Wow. This just took a turn. It's a whole different podcast now.
Damn.
It is.
And that podcast is called
now.
Green Shirt, A Newbie's Trek to the Next Generation. If you want to go listen to that, I highly recommend it. I'm actually a fan of that. To Cameron's point, like, I'll pretty much give anything with Star Trek in the title a shot. So that's actually how I came to know that podcast. But yeah, I actually, all joking aside, I think that is an excellent cold open for an episode of Star Trek. Full stop.
I'll start working on it.
Absolutely.
But if I were going to answer the question,
yeah,
and I don't know if this counts as spoilers for Cameron. I mean, I know it does, but it's like only very technically a spoiler. But spoiler alert. Strange New Worlds that we have noticed is doing a lot of, it's a blank episode from Star Trek, right? Like, I want a Lower Decks episode. Not the series, the episode. I want a Lower Decks, the episode of Strange New Worlds, where we get to meet characters we are never going to see again. And these characters' lives are affected by our main characters, but our main characters are very, very secondary to the story for one episode, right? I just want to see what life on this new ultra shiny, beautiful Enterprise full of beautiful people is like for the guy that got, sucked out of the wall despite Kyle trying to save him. Like, what was his day like before that? I want to know what it's like for the underlings on this Enterprise, personally. Because if Star Trek is going to do a Star Trek, that's the Star Trek I want this Star Trek to Star Trek.
Wow, I'm impressed.
So we have one last caller with a question for us, and it takes us into the little more serious realm of Star Trek and Open Pike Night. So here we go.
Hey, this is Christina from Charlotte. I love you guys, listen all the time. This is my first time calling in, and I have a question. I'm just curious if you have any Star Trek related opinions that we may shock us or be controversial. Anyway, love you guys.
All right, that was new caller Christina asking a question I wanted to ask. Guys, what are your hot takes on Star Trek?
Christina wants to be the only listener after this episode.
but hi, welcome to Open Pike Night, and thank you for calling in. We are so grateful to have you. That's very cool that this would be your first episode. We were sort of worried that this would be the episode where people are like, I'm not downloading that one. But that hasn't been the case. That's so great.
I mean, I don't know if I have any like scorching hot takes. I guess, it would be controversial to say that I really like Faith of the Heart and think it's an appropriate theme for Enterprise. And I never skip the intro on that one.
I think at this point that's a lukewarm take at best.
Yeah, I know.
I'll go with mine. Jesse brought it up earlier. I've noticed a lot of discourse online and a lot of disagreements online and a lot of comments from people being like, you don't have a place in the future of Star Trek when they disagree with somebody's beliefs. And like Jesse said, and I have said it before, yes, everybody has to have a place in the future that Star Trek promises, or else we will not get anything close to resembling the future that Star Trek promises. When there's somebody you disagree with who has beliefs that you think are wrong politically, socially, creatively, just when I see somebody making an argument like, oh, well, you wouldn't fit in, it's like they have to. And that's something that I think carries through back to just everyday life. Like we want everybody to be perfect these days, and we let holding people to being perfect get in the way of people being good enough or just good. We're not going to progress. We're not going to fix anything. We're not going to change if we constantly tear everybody down for every little thing that maybe doesn't match up with everybody's individual beliefs. And I'm not saying use it for hatred or bigotry or bias. I'm just saying when it comes to, if we want just a practical example, you can't means test. You cannot make anybody qualify for something that everybody gets. Either everybody gets it or nobody does. And if you make people qualify, you're setting up an us and them. And Star Trek is supposed to be beyond us and them. That Starfleet, the Federation, is supposed to be us. You don't have to like it. You don't have to like people. You don't have to like their beliefs. But you still have to make sure they have the food they need, the medical care they need, the thriving wage they need. They can't be billionaires. There can't be that big a divide between who has and who doesn't have. And we really just, if you start tearing people down because they say one little word wrong that one small group of people disagrees with, and I'm not saying slurs, I'm saying just everybody has very, 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 very specific things they choose to focus on and hills to die on, that we're given this platform of social media to just immediately call somebody out for the tiniest little thing. It's like, stop making perfect be the goal. All we have to do is good for now. Jeff from Cochrane built the first warp vessel to make money. And then he decided to do the right thing, which again goes back to I want to see a year zero Star Trek. It's one of those things where I want the future or something closely resembling the future that Star Trek has. But if we don't all get it, none of us are going to get it.
Mm-hmm. And to John's point, that's not to say we need to allow all kinds of BS. Like, it is a responsibility thing. Like, for us to get there, it's going to require work on behalf of everyone, more from some folk than others, right? Because it is incumbent upon people that can recognize that need to fill that need. That is, it sucks, right? Like, to see a thing and go, am I the only person here that can do this thing? Sometimes the answer to that is yes. So if that's how it has to be, that's how it has to be. But take some of that responsibility and say, instead of saying Star Trek's future doesn't have room for you, maybe try and shape that person's mind into the kind of mind you want to see in the Star Trek future. Maybe have dialogue with that person and go, what makes you think this way? Because to me, it feels flawed. Like, there is power in dialogue and there is power in understanding, even understanding through disagreement. And I want to be very clear that we are not condoning hate speech and like saying you must tolerate everything ever, because we're not saying that, obviously.
You can absolutely say, like, you know what, you're being a real asshole.
Right.
Here is the help you need.
Exactly. But on small things, like, and on, arguably trivial things, use those as your inroad. Those Star Trek is your inroad, right? If you want to argue about Star Trek, use it as a way to create an inroad to dialogue, not as a way to build walls around your particular part of the fandom. Now, to that point, I think if Enterprise were better, it would have lasted longer. Now, I will qualify that by saying that I, of all people, as the host of a show called Sudden But Inevitable, which is about series that got canceled before they should, specifically one season series, I understand that quality doesn't always equal success. I think usually it does not, in fact, I think is a fair thing to say. But I feel like I have yet to hear unfair criticism of Enterprise, I guess. Like, I feel like I've heard criticism of other shows where I'm like, that seems a little unfair, or that seems like reaching, or that feels like maybe you just want a reason to dislike the showrunner or the lead actor or actress, let's just say, for this show. But all of the criticism I've ever seen or heard or read about Enterprise, when I watch it, which I do very infrequently, I'm like, yep, that's present. Yep, that's accurate. Yep, that's applicable. Like, all of that is true. And it feels so much to me like an attempt. This is really difficult for me to articulate because I know that all of Star Trek is designed to make money, right? But to me, Enterprise feels so like, what if we just made a Star Trek show? People would like it because we told them to. It's like, there's parts of it where I'm like, you're just doing all of the nostalgia tricks at the same time. Now, I have seen the same criticism leveled at Strange New Worlds, and I disagree with it, but I could see where somebody could be coming from with that, right? Like, they're just doing all the old versions of Star Trek episodes. They're doing a bunch of stuff that we've seen with some of the characters we've already seen. Sure, but again, it's designed to make money, and it looks great, and it's a ton of fun, and everybody is really good at acting in this. Like, I am maybe just not a huge Scott Bakula fan. Is that possible? Did you
That
you
is
guys,
a hot take.
Did
Wow.
you guys
Spicy.
Did you guys
5-alarm heat here?
Did you guys watch Quantum Leap back in the day?
Absolutely, I did.
Okay, I didn't. So I don't know. When was that on?
The entirety of the 90s, it feels like.
Oh, okay, so I would have been
all
like
the
8.
time.
Yeah, my bad. But I just I don't know. There is something about him that screams like, yeah, leave him alone. He's trying, and it's like, that's not good enough. Like, I need somebody inspiring, right? Like, I don't mean to criticize the actor. I'm talking about the character of Archer. Like, the characters. Yeah, the character doesn't inspire me. He feels very much like I think that I have the right to do this because I'm here, and it's like, okay,
I
but
think
that's part of
point?
his arc, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Having
think-
only made it halfway through the first season, I'm like, oh, this guy is horribly flawed. I can't wait to see his arc.
Right. And I don't know. Like, for me, I've said it before on the show, that's not the Star Trek series I want to watch. Like, I don't want to watch Near Now, like, somewhat realistic. It's kind of like a submarine. It's just everything that Star Trek Enterprise is stacks against it for me, except for the name Star Trek. Like, and I will admit that I have not seen a lot of it. I see total probably like 15 episodes, but I'm willing to watch more of it and give it a shot because I think it's probably there's a lot of people that I have also heard that really like it. So I feel like those people can't just be completely wrong. Right. So I'm willing to give Enterprise a shot. I don't know. Maybe we should,
Abby.
Maybe
Keep
we should
listening to us, please.
Maybe we should build a podcast out of it or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Okay, well, maybe this is my hottest take, and it's going back to what we had just talked about. So to bring it back down again, maybe. I don't know. I don't hate William Shatner. I like William Shatner. I don't have a problem with William Shatner. The dude is, almost 90? Is 90? I don't know. He's a really old dude, and he has spent a lifetime of people telling him how he should feel about one of his jobs. And, if the guy now, if if like this great grandpa doesn't want people to tell him like what sexuality a character he played 60 years ago was, fair on him. You know, do I agree with everything he says? Absolutely not. I probably don't agree with him on most things. But again, he's just a grumpy old dude, but he's honest about being a grumpy old dude. And when people like make it a badge of honor to be like, I got blocked by him, I mean, that just tells me people are going out there and poking the bear to get a reaction, and then you complain when you get a reaction. Like, just let the old dude be. He's having fun going on cooking shows and stuff now. I don't know.
Yeah, and yeah, it is. It goes back to I like what both of you said, because it does. It's like, look, we're all flawed. Every Star Trek captain is flawed. If there were perfect characters on Star Trek, it would be the most boring and most rapidly canceled series ever. Every time one came out, it's like, oh, none of these people have problems. None of these people, that are perfect in everything they do.
Ortegas is perfect.
Why would you watch this? Or I mean,
well, we haven't got our backstory yet. Just wait, Jesse.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do like that. Jesse, I will absolutely entertain your criticism of Enterprise once you finish the entire series. And it's funny to me because I do look forward to you watching it because it was given the Firefly treatment. Enterprise had terrible air times. It had an inconsistent schedule. It wasn't as bad as the Firefly release schedule was, but it wasn't well served.
I can allow for that. I hate the theme song. Like I love the theme song for Firefly because Firefly is a space western. Enterprise, like, because of the theme song, to me feels like it came out when it came out, no matter what. Like
Enterprise was a show of its time. 100%.
Right. Oh, yeah. I can watch TNG and go, this looks modern enough. Like, because of the aesthetic, it looks modern enough. They've got touch screens. Everything seems self-consistent, right? And then when you watch Enterprise, you're like, oh, this is like mid 2000s, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, Season 3, it's like, if anybody ever argues that Season 3 of Enterprise is not just Star Trek 9/11, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. So it is absolutely a product of its time. And it was a weird time.
And I think you and I may have discussed this, John, but like, to have an alien species named the Suliban is like, that's really close to Taliban. So it's like,
that was before.
I know that you are saying that, but I believe Enterprise premiered in 2002. So I'm just going to throw that out there.
No, yeah. Yeah.
And again,
I don't know.
It's not like Star Trek has never done that, right? Obviously. But I just, it's so cringe in some way, right? Like I think it's because it is so of the moment, right? Where we were all like, we'll take anything to, feel better for like a while. And it was just like, I don't know. There's something about it that feels icky to me. And no other Star Trek series to me feels icky. And to be fair, like I said, maybe I just need to give it a better shot and a fairer shake because I haven't really put in the work to do that. I will say the pilot,
Oh, it's the best. It's definitely the best Star Trek pilot.
It
completely
premiered
objectively.
September 26, 2001. So I would argue Suliban was already there because there's no way they went back and reshot in 2 weeks.
Okay. I'm going to throw this out. I'm going to throw this out there. The Taliban were around before 2001.
Oh, I know.
But they were the brave fighting soldiers of the Taliban, as Rambo 3 told us at that time.
Yep.
Look, America doesn't always get it right, okay?
What?
I feel like that's
Shocking.
Like that's my biggest issue is that it feels like a great instance of us as a country not getting a thing right. And Star Trek does that from time to time, and like I said, I'm willing to watch the rest of the series. If I had to boil it down, I would be like, it feels weird to me. It doesn't feel like Star Trek to me. I don't want to be that guy because I hate when people say this isn't real Star Trek or that is closer to real Star Trek, this sort of a thing. I just, like, subjectively, the feeling I get when watching Enterprise is weird.
Just don't watch the last episode.
I have seen that scene. And, what more damning piece of evidence is there than that scene? Right?
That was, I would say, the most sudden but inevitable moment of that show. Was, well, crap. We just got hard canceled. What do we do?
And John, producer John T-Bolds, Cameron Greenshirt Harrison.
What?
Isn't Star Trek the show that gets saved by letter writing campaigns of dedicated fans and people that care about Star Trek? Like, isn't Star Trek the show where the fans keep it on the air when they want it on the air?
Oh, are we still talking about Enterprise? Honestly, Jesse, I feel any opinion about Enterprise can't be that hot because it's like the most kind of just, I don't want to say middling show, but like the show people have the most middling opinions about. People are like, oh yeah, Enterprise, that was a Star Trek show also, wasn't it?
Well, I don't disagree, but I feel like it's as hot as my opinion is going to get on Star Trek because I'm not. Like I'm pretty.
You made it clear.
I'm pretty soft. So I doubt that you've gotten this far into the Behind the Bricks episode of Open Pike Night without having followed Open Pike Night on Twitter at Open Pike. But in case you have somehow, then that means you missed the moment where our former guest, Josh of the Bricked Pit, was sort of, I don't know, he wasn't bullied into it. He was...
Well, he had the hot take of perhaps there would be another actor better suited for Khan.
Right.
An actor by the name of...
Jeff Goldblum.
And
that, of course, led us to demand a reading of any scene from Wrath of Khan as Jeff Goldblum from Twitter in general. And lo and behold, one person total has answered the call, and it was Josh who the call was directed at, to be fair. But I did open it up. But, Josh, your bravery is deeply appreciated here at Open Pike Night. Producer John, roll that tape.
All right, I promised I'd do it, so here it goes. This is Josh from the Brick Pit doing Jeff Goldblum as Khan. He tasked me. And I shall have him. I'll chase him round the moons of Nibia, round Antares Maelstrom, and round Perdition's flames before I give him up.
There it was.
I think that's pretty damn good.
I heard a little Goldblum creep in there now and then.
Yeah, so if you don't follow on Twitter, then you missed the exchange where he said somebody else better send their impression in because I just sent mine in, and I actually replied with he tasks me, and he replied with the Jeff Goldblum pointing yes gif.
Whoa,
and
shit, that's good,
I
Jesse.
didn't know it was because that was his actual impression, so that just happened to line up really great. So Josh, thank you so much. Gentlemen, we have to do one, right? We got to back Josh up, I would think.
Yes.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
Let me get the Goldblum motor going. He tasks me as he does.
You I've never seen before, but I never forget a face, Mr. Chekhov.
Yes.
Damn. I've done far worse than kill you. I've hurt you, and I wish to go on hurting you. I shall leave you as you left me, as you left her, marooned for all eternity in the center of a dead planet, buried alive. There you go. I have no idea if that was Goldblum or not.
Do you know the Klingon proverb that tells us revenge is a dish best served cold. It's very cold in space.
If you think you're safe at warp, you're wrong.
That's good. Let's leave it at that.
There you go.
That was really fun, Josh. Thank you. That's
Thank you very much.
We should
to
do
Josh with the Brick Pig podcast.
I think we need more impression readings, you guys.
I think we are a stand-up comedy themed podcast. I think we can make a an impression segment mainstay. A mainstay.
Yeah, that was Josh at Brick Pit on Twitter and the Brick Pit podcast, anywhere you find podcasts. Thank you all once again for joining us for Open Pike Night Behind the Bricks, Episode 1. As always, we want to keep every episode of Open Pike Night free, and to make that possible, please head over to patreon.com/openpike. Our supporters there have already had a chance to hear some of what didn't make it into this episode, as well as get a video greeting from this recording. One of the many benefits you too can have when you become a patron for as little as $2 a month. Jesse, how else can our listeners help?
You can also go to the aforementioned openpike.bigcartel.com and start picking out your favorite Season 1 t-shirts and stickers and beanies. Yes, there are other things there, but the t-shirts we think are really going to be where the bee's knees are buttered. I don't know if that's the correct metaphor, but go check it out because you can support us directly and help keep this show free for everyone. And that's one of the easiest ways that you can help support the show and get a little something extra in exchange without having to pay for paywalled episodes. Because I personally, I'm just going to say this. You know what? We're going off script, you guys. I'm going to say this out loud. I listen to a lot of Star Trek podcasts. Big surprise, right? A lot of those Star Trek podcasts, once they get really good or big or whatever, they go, if you want our bonus episodes, they're going to cost you this much per month. And it's not that I am like mad about that, but there is some part of me that goes, the podcasts are meant to be free, I think. And especially with this podcast, we wouldn't exist without the community. So it doesn't make any sense to ever say, now you need to pay for this. But if you want to help support the show and help keep making it as good as it is, we want to give you that opportunity. And we think the shirts are pretty funny. Like, go check out the shirts. I think you're going to agree with us, especially if you like Star Trek or Open Pike Night.
And if you don't, why are you still listening to this episode?
Yeah, I mean, we appreciate it. Absolutely.
We don't understand it, but we appreciate it.
I mean, hey, a hate listen is a listen. It's a download.
That's true. If you want to go leave us a negative review, actually, you know what? Go leave us a 5-star review and with just a bunch of negative comments. That's fine. As long as it's 5 stars.
And even more importantly than any support financially or through merch, Jesse, what is the best way people can support Open Pike Night?
The best, purest, and most important way that you can support Open Pike Night is to go to Twitter and follow the show at Open Pike, or use that same page to sign up for the Open Pike Night Crew Manifest to be alerted when we need your help making a show. All, of course, which is to say that we need your help making this show. And you need to record your 90-second or fewer audio clip and send it to openpike@gmail.com. We will tell you what we want to talk about, but we need your voice. Your voice is what makes Open Pike Night Open Pike Night. And we believe what has made this such a focal point for community and just enjoyment and fun and gushing about strange new worlds. It's you guys. We're just the facilitators. John is just the editor. I'm just a fanboy. Cameron is just here to keep us both in line. This is all you, and without you, we don't have this. So thank you.
Cam, where can people find you online?
You can find me at the aforementioned Green Shirt, a Newbie's Trek to the Next Generation podcast. Wherever you're listening to this, you'll find that. Twitter is at GreenShirt87. That's our most active social media site, so check it out.
And Jesse, where can people find more of you?
If for whatever reason you need more of me in your ears, you can follow me on Twitter at Openpike. That's where everything for the show happens. That's where you'll see a lot of fun memes, specifically incredibly high-quality memes. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's a flag we're going to plant. Cameron's most recent meme is like one of the most gorgeous things I've ever seen. But if you would like to hear more of me podcasting, not about Star Trek, use this same app that you're listening to right now to go look up Sudden But Inevitable. That's where you'll hear me turn longtime friends into first-time fans of the shows I feel they probably should have seen by now. Of course, all the shows are one season only, so that's sort of our shtick.
And once you've finished listening to this episode and an episode of Sudden But Inevitable and an episode of Green Shirt and Newbie's Trek to TNG and recorded your 90-second or less clip to send into openpike@gmail.com. You can find and follow me on Twitter at John T. Bolts. It's been a great night, and our callers have burst through the wall to get behind the bricks like a warp-powered Kool-Aid man. So while we clean up this mess, guys, you didn't have to burst through the wall. There are exit doors. Please make your way toward those exit doors. Don't forget to tip your servers. You can go anywhere you want, but you can't stay here.